What's with the Cub stuff?
You're in the Cubs room.
Guest,
Steve Jesperson. But Steve, originally I met Steve at Operation Christmas Child. He was the chaplain there, had built a really good relationship. Of course, he had a good relationship with a lot of people there. He had a great ministry going on. We asked him to come and speak at the first Greater Purpose of a Godly Man conference, which was, this is our third one coming up in April. So we asked him if he wouldn't mind jumping in and doing a little, one of our little Greater Purpose podcasts. They're going to be short, something that you can listen to real quick, hopefully be inspired. And maybe we'll have a few laughs along the way and that kind of good stuff. So Steve, just tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Well, first of all, you said I'm a pastor, and then you said this is going to be short. There's
the laugh, though.
Mutually exclusive, I think. Yeah. Bill, thanks for
I'll start doing this.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me to be on. I'm actually retired from pastoring now and am doing maintenance for a charter school in the Southport, North Carolina area.
There you go.
So that's my mission field right now. And my wife's on staff here as well. So it's neat for us to do a different type of ministry together after having done church ministry together. So that's what keeps me busy these days.
Cool.
And I love the kids.
Yeah.
And, I like to do things with my hands. So the maintenance stuff and then the kid piece just seems to really work. And that's where God's placed us for now.
Great. Well, you would lose me on the maintenance part. So I would be breaking things, not putting them together. So,
yeah.
But you're always a pastor. You're always a pastor. You're always ministering to others. So that's a great opportunity. That is definitely a major mission field right there. So, so let's talk about a couple things about being a godly man, or what it is that incorporates into the life of being a godly man. Now, first of all, let me start right here and jump in and say that I understand that there are guys that are going to be sitting here just like we are right now, and we do not sit back and go, oh, well, hey, I'm the godly man. That isn't what this is about. What this is about a relationship with Jesus Christ, our study of his word, our prayer with him, the Holy Spirit in our lives, building us up to become the man that Jesus Christ wants us to be, which we're never going to be, but we're attempting to at least display those characteristics that Jesus wants us to display. So that's the godly man we're talking about. We're not ever assuming that anybody thinks that they're, this godly above everybody else. So that's not what it is. But when did you first recognize the importance? I understand you're a pastor, you've got the education, you were saved, et cetera, et cetera. When did you first understand the importance of being a godly man, and why did you think it was important?
Wow. First of all, thank you for clarifying that at the beginning, that I don't hold myself up as the ultimate godly man. As you explained, we're all in process. And where I really came into a saving relationship with Jesus Christ was as a teenager. It was between my sophomore and junior year that it really solidified in my mind. And that kind of set my life on a trajectory, a course of following after Jesus, not just saying I am a Christian, I'm a follower of Jesus, I'm a disciple, whatever word, but my actions backing that up. And so I think my first pastoral role was as a children's pastor. And so in that role, those kids looked up to you. And so I really wanted to be a consistent male role model for them. And so probably before I did that, though, I taught high school in a Christian school. And that was important then, too. So I guess, as I think about it, it predated me getting married, having my own kids. That began many years ago.
Yeah. So really, probably don't want to use this word too loosely, but evolution. It was an evolution, I think, probably.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably is with most, I think most of the men out there. I don't think any of us like wake up and go, one day, oh, I need to be a godly man.
Yeah.
We look back and see that we were doing those things like you're talking about, maybe. So,
Yes.
Like the song, "He's Still Working on Me."
oh, by the way,
Yeah.
the voice you guys hear in the background, since he doesn't want to be right here in this empty space where another face could fit, this is our producer, another Steven. All these Stevens around here. I'm gonna change my name, Stephen Ward. But our producer Stephen Wright is over here with the banter. We're gonna think of a stage name. Yeah, there's his hand. We're gonna think of a stage name for him later. Like Rush Limbaugh had Bo Snerdley. We'll call him, I don't know, Steven Snerdley. I don't know, whatever. So oh yeah, speaking of Rush Limbaugh, got to give him a plug. So the great speaker extraordinaire. What did he call himself? I don't remember now. The Poobah.
Poobah. Grand
All right,
Poobah.
cool. So, all right. So let's go to the next one. So, what man or woman was, say, your biggest inspiration? Maybe not for all of life, but maybe specifically, or maybe there were more than one. As the inspirations for you saying, hey, I need to be like this godly man here. I need to be like this godly woman here. So, yeah.
Sure. I almost spilled over into that with the first question.
Oh, sorry.
But
No,
I
that's
thought
good.
I'd better hold off until you asked me that.
It's okay.
But that one's really easy. That was my father. My father modeled that throughout his whole life. He lived to be 100 years old. And, till his dying day, he modeled that. The last night that he was alive, this was back in 2013 that he passed away. And he was in the hospital. He'd gone in on a Saturday night. And Sunday, we spent the afternoon with him there in the hospital room. And then he passed away Monday morning. And he had different nurses that cared for him. And he would ask them if they know Jesus. And that was just so much a part of his DNA. And he wasn't a perfect man by any stretch. But boy, he modeled that for me. And so that's why I think, my life took the turn that it did, because, I wanted to grow up and be like my dad.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm still here on earth, so I guess I haven't done it yet. I haven't got up to what he was, but there was just such a consistency about his walk with Jesus and his love with Jesus. And my parents went through a lot of difficult times. They were in China when the communists took over. They were under house arrest. A lot of stories about that, but we won't go into that, other than them knowing God's faithfulness in some of these difficult, extreme circumstances. And then what that caused them to do was model a faith and trust in Jesus for the 5 of us kids.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. So, I like something that you touched on there. I guess I haven't served that purpose yet. I'm still here. So I feel the same way. I feel like when it's, when that one last thing that God wants me to do as a godly man is done, then I'm good to go. So, I'm good to go now, but he's obviously got something else planned, right? So that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Awesome. So you said some things about, you've been a teacher, you've been a pastor, you've been a chaplain at Operation Christmas Child. You've done some obviously all ministry, but a lot of different things. Teaching is not necessarily specifically a ministry. So what do you think out of all those things? What has been what's been the most effective thing for you in affecting, motivating, and building into specifically other men's lives?
Sure. I'm going to reflect back to another hero in my life. And actually, for this gentleman, he hasn't finished well. And but yet one thing that he continually hammered on us, I was on staff at his church, was that people matter to God, and therefore they ought to matter to me.
Yeah.
And so just that emphasis, and you know, my dad said similar things, but not that specifically. But and something I recognize right now in the school that I'm at, kids want to be recognized, not stand up in front of a crowd necessarily, but they want to be seen. And you know, if I think that people matter to God, the second part of that was, there's no one with whom I meet eyes that Christ didn't die for. And it really changes your perspective and how you view people, be it man, be it a little kindergarten child, or anybody else. Yeah. People matter to God, and they're someone for whom Christ died. Yeah. So they need to matter to me. Yep, and good. You know, when I keep that focus, I'm in a much better state of mind. Yeah. You know, if I lose that focus and I'm driving down the road and some guy cuts me off, I want to think differently about him.
Come on, you don't go, praise the Lord.
Yes.
No. Come on, that's what I do. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
that's the journey.
You,
I did it this morning on the way to Concord. So, but I mean, I don't do anything. I don't do any cussing or anything like that. So I just, you know, but anyway, yeah, I get it. That's good. So stay. Yeah, so staying focused. So listen, and I noticed that about you. I'm not here to brag on people, but I'm going to anyway. I'll probably do that on some of these other podcasts, but I noticed that about you at Operation Christmas Child. You looked everybody in the eye. You made connection with every single person that you encountered. And I get it. That was your job. That I totally get that. But I've seen people in the job before that don't do that. So what you did was inspire, motivate, encourage by what you just said you do, by looking into the eye, connecting with them and making them feel like they were somebody, because they are. So that's kind of what we're all about here with the Greater Purpose. So that's really cool. So now here we go. You ready for the Fast Five?
Okay.
Fast Five. All right. Fast Five. Name your 5 heroes of the faith.
All right. Well, I mentioned my dad already. Billy Graham is another one. Again, somebody who lived a consistent life. Yep. Bill Hybels, a pastor I worked with. He was the one that people matter to God.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Mike Rohrbach was a captain of the University of Washington football team that went to the Rose Bowl. Became a good friend. He's a chaplain, has been a chaplain with the sports teams there at the University of Washington. He's an encourager, and you spend time with him and you feel, I can tackle anything out there in front of me.
That's great.
But he's been a huge blessing in my life. And then the fifth one, Norm Holmskog, was a coach that I worked with, and he was a great mentor as a basketball coach and then as a teacher. Yeah. And then I'll just add one other caveat. It's interesting that 3 of these 5 are with the Lord now. And I just thought that was interesting. Yeah. They have finished the race that God set before them, and were faithful to the end. Yeah.
That's neat. So, coaches, teachers, the mentorship that they have. I think we've probably all been coaches. Probably everybody we're going to end up talking to on these podcasts at one time or another was a coach, whether it was Pee Wee or whatever like that. So, and then the others have been teachers, or they've been both. So, the importance of understanding our place and building into those lives, which is what those guys did for you.
Oh yeah, for real.
Who you are. That's awesome. That's cool. That's great. All right. So we got it. So we're close to the end here. So we've got to do the official showing of the Willy Ace Chicago Cubs bobblehead. How you like that, huh?
All right.
So since we're wrapping this is, by the way, guys, if you people out there, if you haven't realized what we're doing at the very end, we are requiring our podcast guest to give us a sports related story. Now, they may not be a sportsman. They may not be an athlete. They may not have, I think probably most of these people played some, but whatever. They got to give us some type, and it doesn't have to be about the Cubs. If it is, then it's a bonus.
Right.
But oh, by the way, before you do your sports story, and should I do the send the prizes, the gifts at the end or now?
Well, I mean,
Before the sports, this is the fun part.
This one.
Yeah, that. All right. So here's what our podcasts, we have special, wonderful gifts for our podcast guests. First of all, you will receive an autographed Willie A. Chicago Cub baseball card.
Wow.
Official. You will receive that. Wait.
There's more.
There's more.
There's more.
Oh, well, I'm not supposed to leave the camera, am I? I'm leaving. I'm here.
I'll pop in.
My producer made me put everything under the desk. I didn't want it. So
I believe in organization.
Since you may or may not know, I'm a STEM teacher. So the next thing, since you're not here live, we'll send this stuff to you. If you were here, you could take it home with you right now, but hey, that's on you. You will also receive a wonderful Legos superhero in recognition of STEM. And then, of course,
all right,
a bottle of hand sanitizer. Mr. Bill from Mr. Bill's STEM Education.
Sure.
So,
all right.
Shameless plug, right?
Yeah.
So you can give your sports story and then you can give your plug and then we'll wrap this up. Go ahead.
Okay. I had one written down, but when you showed the Chicago Cub bobblehead, I thought, well, shoot, I lived in Chicago for a lot of years.
Right.
I don't have a Cub story, but I've got a Mike Singletary story
That'll
from
work.
the Chicago Bears.
Sure.
So Mike was a volunteer with us in our children's ministry at the church.
Oh, cool.
And so one day he came in to serve, and he worked in the infant and toddler area. So can you imagine handing your kid over to Mike Singletary? So anyway, I said, hey, Mike, I heard a story about you this last week. And he was walking, he stops, turns and looks at me. And those Singletary eyes.
Yeah.
He says, well, what was the story? I said, well, we had a guy come and speak to our staff. He's a pastor in Washington, D.C. area. It went silent. And then he looks at me and he said, that didn't happen. He says, who was it? And the intensity of the size.
Yeah.
And this was long after his playing days had ended. But that intensity was still there.
That never
left.
left.
Well, he's a pastor in Washington, D.C. Well, he's lying.
That's great.
So it's just the funniest thing. But,
cool.
Mike was just a great guy, willing to step up and serve in the church, even in with the youngest that our congregation had.
Awesome.
So that one was the one that came to mind.
That works. That's perfect. That's great. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, before you tell us about anything you got coming up, anything you want to plug or thank or anything like that, I do notice, I can't point to it, but in the back of you or behind you, it says on your calendar, February. I just want everybody to know this is not being recorded in February.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's I share the office.
Yeah.
With a partner, and that's his Harley Davidson calendar.
Oh,
okay. And he's been out, so I didn't want to change that on him.
I got you. Right.
So that's why it says
problem.
There's one over here that is right.
That says March. There you go. Good. Yeah, because I know people will be looking at. I know somebody's going to look at it. That's what they're going to focus on. So I should have said something. But we're good. They can go back and watch the whole thing.
I'm detailistic, and I didn't notice it.
Right. So. All right, cool. So anything you want to plug, anything you want to say anything about before we wrap up?
I don't have any speaking or anything like that I'm doing. I'm going to be a grandfather again on the 20th, unless my daughter comes earlier, but she's scheduled to deliver on the 20th for right now. We'll be her second girl.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
So I'm excited about that.
Cool. Good deal. Well, congratulations on that. Steve, you're a great
Well, thank
godly
you.
man. I appreciate you. I love you, my brother. We'll get you back on here again sometime down the road. So God bless you. Take care. You have a great one.
It's
All
the
right. Thank
third annual podcast.
Oh, I'm supposed to
All right.
I'm supposed to promote something.
Yes.
The third annual Greater Purpose of a Godly Man conference on April 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. So,
Yep.
All right.
All
Thanks.
right.
Appreciate it, Steve.
Thanks a lot, man.
Take care. God bless.